Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Murray. I'm the Mentorship Chair for Black NSA, and want to welcome everyone to this April mentorship call. And I'm very, very pleased to have us have a great speaker, great presenter who's going to be talking to us today. And I'll open up by sharing that my first entry into the world of Black NSA was with a mastermind and Ann McNeill. That was my first introduction to Ann and Black NSA. And then after my second mastermind, Ann said, we're looking for some individuals who may want to volunteer their time and really want to step up their effort to bring service and really help the organization move forward. So it is a real honor to introduce Ann today and just acknowledge her for really encouraging me to step up my role as a board member at Black NSA. Today's program, as always, we're going to have our presenter who's going to be presenting and telling her story and her journey as a professional speaker and business professional. And then she's going to be leaving some salient points that will help you in your journey as a professional speaker. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A. All right, so get your questions ready. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ann McNeill, as well as the other attendees who have joined us here today. Ann, take it away.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today for yourself. I really do believe that every Black NSA member can have a dream come true in every single area of your life by focusing on three things. Number one are the books you read. Number two, the people you meet. And then number three is serving. The books you read, the people you meet, and serving. And I'd like to ask you, if you're not driving, of course, but I'd like to ask you to put in the chat the books you read, the people you meet, and serving. And those are my three salient points. I will end the way I start. Because for me, these are the 3 points that have carried me and continue to carry me since 9 p.m., December 31st, 1979. Now, I like to start there because I believe also that when you think about the books you read, December 31st, 1979, when I picked up a copy of this book, was a different version, but this book, as Jason talked about, The Million Dollar Mastermind, this book, Think and Grow Rich, when I picked up a copy of this book on December 31st and started to read the book began to read me. We've talked about that. But prior to that same period of time, I read a book by Howard Thurman, and it was entitled Disciplines of the Spirit. Another book that many of the members of NSA are familiar with, that's one of my favorite, is a book entitled Life is Tremendous by Charlie Tremendous Jones, who was a stalwart, if you will, in the National Speakers Association. But Charlie Tremendous Jones said this: "You and I will be the same in 5 years as we are today, except for two things. Two things: the books you read and the people you meet." And that's when I first began to realize the importance of the books, but also the people. But when I read Howard Thurman's book, The Disciplines of the Spirit, he talked about uh, a, a, a dream, if you will. And what I always like to do whenever I share my experiences, I always like to start with this. And for those of you that are driving, please just bear with us. But if you're not driving if you would humor me, if you will, and take this exercise with me. Is that all right? If you can put all right in the chat, because I do like for this to be a dialogue, not a monologue. If you can put all right in the chat, can you put all right in the chat? And I don't see it all right, so I'm assuming it's not all right that I should. Okay, here we go. All right in the chat. All right, all right, all right, all right. Excellent. This is what Howard Thurman shared. Now, I need for each of you to close your eyes. And if you've done this exercise with me before, or anybody else, let's do it again because it may change. I need for you, each of us, to close our eyes. I'm going to do the same. And I need for you, while your eyes are closed, and if you can have no distractions around you, I need for each and every one of you to just imagine, you are lying on your deathbed. When death comes, and standing all around you are all of your dreams, all of your goals, your vision for life, your purpose for living, all of your dreams. They're all standing around your deathbed and they're staring at you. And they're all saying, Jason, Spicer, each and every one of you that's here, they're calling your name. You, that Richardson, DJ, Donnie, Kendrick, each and every one of you, your name in particular, and they're saying to you, Donnie, DJ, Spicer, they're saying, we only came to you. These are your dreams. You know, that book you were going to write, that song you were going to sing, that business you were going to start, that loved one you were going to take care of, that child you were going to educate, that trip you were going to take, all of your dreams and goals. They're standing at you, standing around your deathbed, and they're staring at you with their large, angry, angry, angry eyes. And they're saying to you, we only came to you, and only you could have given us life. Now we must each die with you forever. Now, I need for each one of you to open your eyes at this point. And I need for you, if you can, just put one dream in the chat, just one. Just one dream in the chat. Can you put just one? One dream or one vision that was staring at you on your deathbed. If you can each put just one thing in the chat. You see, because you must have a dream to have a dream come true. And I wrote this book last year. This published this year is called You Must Have a Dream to Have a Dream Come True. But it was a 20-year journey because that night I realized for the first time in my adult life, when I read these words, I didn't have a dream. This is a story that he was sharing. And I realized, what was it all for me? What's my dream? I don't have one. And that is when the 9 p.m. December 31st, 1979 story started. Because after putting that book down and realizing that I had just been going, just living in the motion, just moving, just to be moving, doing what everybody else said I needed to do, but not really thinking about what is it that I really want. But when I picked up Napoleon Hill's book that same night, 9 p.m. December 31st, and I began to read the book, these were the questions that he asked me. And many of you that have been, like Jason said, a part of the mastermind or not, you know that the Black NSA $1 million mastermind came out of my mind as a part of this journey, as I responded to a question that Marquessa Petwick kept asking over and over and over again. Hey, I want to start a mastermind group, but I don't know how. Can somebody help me? And God convicted me because I had been masterminding at that point for over 20 years. But this is what I want all of you to understand about my journey. and being in this book from 1979 until this day, again this morning before preparing for this, the 4 questions that he gave me that night: how much money do you want, Ann McNeill? I made it personal. I kept reading. What are you going to do to make the money? I kept reading. By what date do you want the money by? I kept reading. What's your plan of action? I kept reading. You see, because when my husband and friends left that night to go celebrate the new year, I just couldn't party another night. Stayed home, started reading the book. But these questions, I decided for the first time in my adult life, answer the questions. Go back and reread and answer questions. And I said, how much do I want? When he asked me the question, I said $1,000, because I'd never been asked that before. On my corporate job and jobs before that, I just took what people would give me, and it was okay, I thought. But the second question he asked me was, what were you going to do? He said give, but it was really do. What kind of product or service are you going to sell in return for the money? I didn't have a business. I had a really good corporate job, so I had no idea what I was going to sell. But I said I would save the money. Now, for those of you that know, you can't save what you don't have, but that's another story. By what date? I said December 31st, 1980, because this was the 79. But then when I got to the next question, he asked me, what's your plan of action? I had no plan. You see, because I did it in my head, what's my plan? Because he asked me to write it down. So I said, I make this much, I spend this much, I get a negative number. I said, it cannot be right. So I decided to pull out a calculator and do it again. The negative number got bigger. I left out some things. I said, this cannot be right. I pulled out 11 months of council checks, and I did a handmade spreadsheet. How much doing what by when? The date, payee amount. Where was I spending the money to be in debt every week, every month? January a negative, February a negative, all the way to November a negative. And at that point, I knew it was bad, but I did not know it was as bad as it was until I counted the cost, if you will. Every single month, every single penny that went into my account. A negative, and the negative kept getting bigger. Now, as an aside, it got bigger and bigger because my husband and I owned real estate, and I was not collecting the rents because the people were not paying. And that's a long story short. But I was also not doing what I needed to do by evicting women with children who knew their rights greater than I knew my rights, and I could not evict them. So that night I realized that if I kept doing what I was doing, I was going to continue to get what I was getting. So I figured I would write out a plan to at least save $1,000 by December 31st, 1980. And the plan could not come from my salary because my salary was not enough. And therein began my entrepreneur's journey. Because I said, what if I get a part-time job? What if I sold Mary Kay, Amway, something, some kind of network mark, something to make extra money? And everything I did, I realized I could not make money without having some money to start making money. And I just kept at it, writing out different things, staying on that one page. And now it's 4:00 in the morning. My husband and friends are just coming in. And I've now began to cry because I could not figure out how to make additional money. And of course, and this is for the guys, my husband thought I was crying over him. And for the ladies, I let him. But that night, I decided I did not want to live like this anymore, you see, because I was climbing the ladder of success in that corporate world, only to realize my ladder was leaning against the wrong wall for me, and I needed to come down off that wall and do something different. Now, the following morning, I continued to read the book, and I came upon the principle of the mastermind principle. Now, I'm going to fast forward the story from here to get into what did I do next. You see, because I began to give the books away to friends. I don't suggest that, because I was so excited about what Napoleon Hill was telling me to do to find other people just like me. I serve as an accountability to them. They serve as accountability to me. We should meet twice a week and do a self-inventory. That's a takeaway. Put it in the chat. Do a self-inventory. Because until you do a self-inventory, see, that's what my exercise on December 31st, 1979 was about. I did a self-inventory about my finances. And the self-inventory showed me that I not only was in debt, but I was so deeply in debt with no possible way of getting out until I acknowledged the debt and then began to come up with a plan to do something about it. And a mastermind group is the plan, accountability, you see. So it's not about the mastermind itself. It's about the mastermind is just a platform for your accountability. And inside of Black NSA, I only focus on the business of your business, speaking, coaching, whatever it is that you're in business to do. But as I began to focus on the money, how much doing what by when, we went from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and we got to 10, meeting every single week at 7 a.m. every single Saturday morning for 10 straight years. Yes, 10 straight years. As we each began to grow in the different areas, we also, in the second year, began to read. The next book we read was a book called Success, the Glenn Bland Method. And one of my favorites is, and I share this with many people who sell for a living, but one of my favorite is How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success Through Selling. And another one, Frank Becker, Success, the Glenn Bland Method. And in the back of these books, they give a reading list. And what our mastermind group would do very clearly. One of the main mistakes that many of us make is that, and I akin it to, what would it be like if you go to church and you don't read your Bible? Because you say, well, I've read that. Let's use a different book. And this is what happened over the years with many of our mastermind groups. They got tired of reading Think and Grow Rich, now realizing it's not about the reading of the Think and Grow Rich, it's about allowing the book to read you. And then you also read additional books. So as we began to mastermind on the area of the money, one of the books we read was entitled Success, the Glenn Bland Method, where Glenn Bland had picked up a copy of Think and Grow Rich while on the air traveling, got a layover, spent the night in the airport, and decided to just read the book. He bought the book while in the airport, Think and Grow Rich. And at the end of reading the book, because he was in sales and insurance, he decided to implement the principles from Think and Grow Rich in his life and his business. And the book that he wrote, he took the principles of Think and Grow Rich and aligned them with the principles of the Bible and the book of Proverbs. And he wrote his book on focusing on your spiritual, your financial, education, and health areas. We took those areas, implemented them as a part of our mastermind, and then used his process to create the framework that we're using now. I'm sharing this because our mastermind group, the first one, each month, we read a different book or different material about different areas, those 4 areas. One of the main mistakes that many of us make is, I don't need that Bible anymore. Let me use, and I don't need to mention them because different people worship different gods. But if you use the Bible as a part of your spiritual growth, what would it be like if you decide to go to church and you don't use that Bible anymore? That's what happens as a part of my masterminding that I teach and coach. The Think and Grow Rich book is the book that sets us apart from other mastermind groups. And when people in the past have attempted to use other books, it does not work, because the businesses that we're all in is a mindset business first, and then skill set. But oftentimes we want to focus on the skill set and not the mindset. Can I say that again? Can somebody give me a yes in the chat? Can I say that again? Because I think it's critically important when you talk about my journey and everything I do. And I've shared this before in my business of construction, and I'll come back to this story. But in my business of construction, when you fill out an application to come work with me, because I work for you, in the application, it says that you must read Think and Grow Rich as a part of your employment. And by not doing so could be grounds for termination. And I mean that. And people have tried me and they've not won. Why? Because if you're a part of our team and you don't have a mindset for success and you're not willing to grow, because those are some questions we ask you as a part of personality test before you come to work with us, then how can I help you? It's not so much about you helping me, but how can I help you when you're not willing to grow your mindset before the skill set? And so if I'm doing this in my business and in my life, everything I do, I help people with mindset, not skill set first. And so I just want to keep saying that every time I speak, because when we move away from, oh, I know how to do it better, let's use this book, let's use that book, it does not work. So now, to come back to my story, December 31st, 1979, going into the first year, we started our first mastermind group. We stayed together for 10 years. It took me 10 years to get out of my debt in order to save $1,000 a year. From that day to now, my desire and my goal as a part of my affirmation statement from page 72 is that I will have $15,000 passive income. That $1,000, I want to make that a week, a month, a day. That requires now a different mindset and skill set for learning how to make money passively. So often we focus on how to make the money, working time for dollars, but we spend little time on learning how to make the money make money. And so that's my goal now in terms of the amount of money I desire as a part of my affirmation. And so it took me, like I said, 10 years to go from that December 31st, 1979 to the $1,000. But once I began to understand how to make the money, then I began to understand how to teach other people how to make the money. So I just want to share that. And we have, and I'm not sure who's hosting, but we have some movement if somebody could help me with that. Now, coming back to my first business, which was the International Mastermind Association, and understanding how to use these principles and teaching other people how to do it. And so my first business after that, which would be the second business, was the construction. And from the construction company, I realized that I was also doing consulting. So I started a consulting business. And from the consulting business, the National Association of Black Women in Construction is formed out of that. And then from all of those, the speaking business. And so for me, in my speaking business, I share with individuals, I'm a business person who speaks versus a speaker that has a business. And for me, the big difference in that, a business person who speaks, is I am learning, and that's a learning, that's what Charlie Tremendous Jones shared and teaches. He said, and it's not learned, it's learning. And like Nito Cobain, before he became Nito Cobain, shared with me in his booth when he was coming to all of the meetings at NSA, sat with me with Charlie Tremendous Jones in his booth at NSA. And he said, Ann, you do so many things like me. Let's learn how to take everything you do and make sure everything you do is congruent to everything else you do. Now, what does that mean for those of us who are speakers and coaches and all these things? Learn how, if you have multiple businesses, how do they connect to each other? So for me, International Mastermind Association, which is where I teach individuals how to start and run their own mastermind groups. And that's what these books, I wrote a series of books on how to start and run your own mastermind group, comes from, which allowed me to create what we do inside of NSA and Black NSA, not just Black NSA, but also NSA and Black NSA, with teaching people and chapters and groups how to start and run free family and friends mastermind groups. Another conversation for another day. But when you think about being intentionally congruent as a speaker, for me, being a contractor who speaks, it helps me to drive traffic to my speaking business. It helps me to drive traffic to my construction business. It helps me to drive traffic to my consulting business, to the National Association of Black Women in Construction. And so the speaking business, I'm able to be intentionally congruent with everything I do, which connects to everything else I do. And I would challenge each of you to think about whatever it is you do, how do you niche to be richer? How do you niche to be rich? What does that mean? I'm a contractor. But what does that mean, Ann McNeill? A contractor that does what? Are you a painter? Are you electrical? Are you plumbing? So now that gets to, we talked about mindset, think and grow rich. That gets to skill set. Because I contend, and part of my framework is about the fact that each of us are in multiple businesses, whether we recognize it or not. What are the multiple businesses, Ann McNeill? Well, number one, we're in the business of your mindset. And this comes to the niching to be richer. Number two, you're in the business of your skill set. So let's say that if I were a painter, I'm not a painter, but let's say if I were, that's a skill set. That's a business all by itself. Mindset is a business all by itself. Because if you don't have the mindset, it doesn't matter your tool set and your skill set. If you can't see it and believe you can do it, and that's where self-confidence comes in, it's not going to happen. Not able to see it. So mindset is a business. Tool set is a business. Tool set, if I were a painter, would be the fact that I'm a painter. That's a business. The third business that we're all in is the business of your skill set. So if I were a painter, there's a certain back end that painters must do, whether it is your operations, your HR, your business development, your all of these different areas, finance, we don't talk about as a small business because, oh, I'm in business. I got a business card. Okay, so, but do you know the business of speaking? There's a whole nother back end to that business. Do you have a funnel? What's a funnel? That's a whole nother back into the business of speaking or construction as a business person. Whatever it is you do, financial planning, whatever it is you do for a business, it's a business. The other business that we're in is the business of the relationships, of your craft, of your skill set, of your operations. Do you have relationships with the individuals who are your internal clients and your external clients? Your internal clients could be your partners, your VAs, your consultants, whoever those people are. Your external clients could be your clients, your suppliers, all of the people who you need to know, but more importantly, they need to know, like, and trust you to do business with you or not. But it's a business. What's the last book you read about the business of relationships? One of my favorite ones, he has the book of sales, uh, uh, Jeffrey Gitomer, and the red book, the black book, the yellow book, the green book, all of these books that focuses on sales. What's the last book you read on the operations of your business? Like E-Myth Revisited. What's the last book you read on mindset? Think and Grow Rich could be one of the many. But there are 7. I'm not going to go through all of those. We can come back to that. But my point, though, is this: regardless of what business you're in, you're not just in the business. You're in multiple businesses for that craft or that skill that you're in. I love financial services because there's a lot of books, if you will, but that whole gamut of the business that you're in. So I'm going to yield, Jason, if you can help me with the time, because I do want to give enough time, but I want to just bring everybody forward for me in terms of this journey that I'm on. I've gone through my multiple businesses that I'm in, but the journey started again. I want to go back to how it started. I do believe that every Black NSA member can have a dream come true in every area of your life and your business. by focusing on these three things: the books you read, the people you meet, and then giving or serving. And in the area of giving and serving, like Jason said, I asked him to elevate. I've asked a lot of people to join Black NSA. I've asked a lot of people to serve. And I believe that strongly that you will definitely receive more than you give. But look at giving in an area that's going to not just be one way, if you will. Because if you focus on your own skill set in your business, ask yourself the question: are you involved in the business of the business of the business of my industry? In volunteering, and if you are a speaker, are you involved with the National Speakers Association and Black NSA? And if you're not, I would challenge you to really ask yourself the question: are you really in the business of speaking if you're not involved with other speakers association, other? And if you're in the financial services business, are you involved with the other associations in your industry for your craft? And I hope this is making sense. And again, I'll go ahead and wrap up. I really want to challenge everybody: do a self inventory. If you don't have one, I have one in this book called How to Start and Run a Successful Mastermind Group. Napoleon Hill gives us a self inventory in this book. Or you can go to Google and ask for one, or you can create one on your own, whatever is most important to you. But consider assessing where you are prior to understanding where you need to go, and how are you going to get there if you don't know where you are. And I wrap up by sharing, again, from my journey. It took me 20 years to write this book, because I could not write about having a dream come true in every area of my life early in my career, because I hadn't lived it yet. All right. So I'm going to wrap up by saying thank you so very much, Jason, and I'll open myself up for questions. And again, my takeaways are: the books you read, the people you meet, and please serve and give to this Black NSA. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you. And I will tell you, my takeaway, how you closed and wrapped up your comments, similar to how I made the transition to becoming a board member of Black NSA. For example, I was a board member of the National Sales Network, an organization of African American sales professionals. I'm also a member of Quad A, the Association of African American Financial Advisors, similar to what you made mention in terms of in the financial service area. And then now, as we are speakers, not just becoming a member of Black NSA, but NSA in general. So you've just highlighted some great points. And I also want to acknowledge our president, Lethea Owens, who's here, who's always creating positive initiatives for our organization. And there's some other board members here on the call as well. And certainly want to open it up for questions at this time. So the time for you to really delve into how Anne can maybe share how she can specifically help you out in your journey as a speaker. So we're going to open it up for questions. You could either put it in the chat, raise your hand, and I'll acknowledge you, and then you can take yourself off of mute and open up for questions. All right, well, I'll start off with a question.
I'll be second. Thank you. Let me raise my hand. There we go.
All right, Letha, you can go ahead.
Okay. So, Anne, beyond being one of my sheroes, just want to give you some flowers before, you don't have a chance to receive them. The work you do is so meaningful, but just watching you live has been such a blessing to me. I have a question for you, because I know that you are a huge dreamer. You have audacious goals, and I swear there are five of you running around here somewhere because the amount of work you get done, and then taking time to go on a cruise, right? So my question for you, Anne, is related to growing your team. I'm in a position where right now, you know, we've put our AI employees in place, and I'm so excited about that. But that does not eliminate the need for really talented people. And as I'm growing our AI automation organization, I realize that there are some really key human roles that I need to fill. When you think about the management of your operation and the people, the personnel that you've put in place to help you accomplish your most audacious goals, can you share one or two personnel growth oriented goal, not goals, but strategies and or best practices that you think would help those of us who are experiencing scaling?
You know, it's interesting you asked the question, and I go back to how I started and how I close. The books you read, the people you meet, and serving. And what I find, and I'll go back to the book, one of my favorites to answer your question is E-Myth Revisited. E-Myth Revisited. One of the ones I brought, I think 7 or 8 books with me on this trip, and I've finished 5. And one, and just today, that I am halfway through, Buy Back Your Time. And interesting that you asked that question, because I just took a page and I printed it today for my staff. And I'm going to recommend this book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. Buy Back Your Time. And it is by, and I have it here. And I just today.
Dan
So you,
Martell, right? Isn't that the one by
yeah,
Dan Martell?
yep, that's it. That's it. But this is the page. You know, you can get the book, but you can just fast forward. He talks a lot about buy back your time. That's the subject of the book. But the section that I'm in now is how do you identify, hire, and retain good people? So coincidentally, you're asking the question, and I'll see where we finish, because I'm trying to multitask here. I just took pages from reading today during lunch. I'm actually in a day ahead of everybody else here on the call. So I will put this inside of the chat, Lethea. Here it
Okay.
is. Buy Back Your Time. And it is page number, if you get the book, it starts at page. And I'll send these pages over to you, page 150. And basically he answers a lot of the questions you're asking. And the other one is scaling. In addition to all of that, the other thing that I've done is years ago, I hired a consultant, which many of us are familiar with, and read all of the books in the EOS traction system. You see, because it's not just a one and done answer to the question, because it really speaks to where you want to go in terms of your goals, and then who you need to surround yourself with in terms of missing pieces in the chain. But you have to start with what do you already have? And that is a part of that EOS. So the other book that I would recommend to you and everybody, if you don't have it, is Traction. Traction. Now there's a EOS litany of books, and like I said, I've read all of them in my and we've been a part of that maybe I don't know, 4 or 5 years or something like that. And then, as you know, from our Darnielle days, if you will, she would send us a book every quarter, and I've read those. So I go back to the reading, and people say, well, I don't have time to read. Well, you know what? You make time. What's a page a day? If you read a page a day, and there's how many days in the year? Just a page? How about a half a page? I tell my clients, tear out a page. Take your book and just tear the page out. Put it in your pocket, put it in your handbag, carry it with you. Or you can do, you know, if it's on Audible, whatever it is, but consuming the information to have the mindset for knowing what to do next. I'm coming back to your question though, Lethea. And so for me, that's what I've done. And God has just blessed me with, um, you know, you may have to go through 10 to get one. But what are the skills that you need by doing your own self-inventory, your own personality type, because that's the other process, doing a personality test, whether it's Briggs or whatever they are, to understand when you vet these people, are they really the right personality? So it's a whole process, if you will, and I think I'm telling you what you already know, but that's what I've done, and that's what I am doing. Also, in different ways, whether it's my for-profit businesses, because I have 5 businesses, 3 are for profit, and then the 2 are nonprofit. The same applies in nonprofit. And you, as a leader of NSA, you know, some people fit, some people don't, depending upon what butt you want to put in the seat. And sometimes we, you know, it's like another book, The World is Flat. Many of these books, is that the right butt in the seat? It may be the right butt on the bus, but is it the right butt in that particular seat?
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, and that is a part of the journey. That's a part of the journey, but that's what I'm doing, and that's what we've done. And you know, God, like I said, I keep going back to, in all of the companies that I have, uh, they didn't just come up. You know, it's been a journey, and God has blessed us with excellent teams. Not perfect. We're not perfect, but again, it is trying the spirit by the spirit too. That's not in the books.
Thank you. I
All right, you
appreciate it.
will. No,
Thank you so
no
much.
problem. Anybody else? Oh, yes,
Jason,
yes,
Jason,
yes,
you're muted.
yes.
Jason, you're muted. We can't hear
He
you.
got it in his
Yeah.
hand, Jason. You comment
Okay.
on that? I
Yeah.
recommended that to you
Yeah.
years ago.
You quoted that book, and I have the book, and I've read the book, and scaling a business and coming up with the idea of scaling a business. That's what Michael Gerber talks about. So I guess my question for you, Ann, is if you have, let's say, multiple businesses like yourself, and you're looking to really amplify your voice as a speaker, but yet your primary business is not necessarily the speaking business. How do you um, manage your time and prioritize your, I guess, primary business, but also amplifying your voice as a speaker where it doesn't prevent your primary business from suffering and your speaking business can still be enhanced?
Jason. They're not separate. They're not separate. It's one.
Okay.
One. It's always all one. And that's what Nito Quabain taught me years ago, in person and personally, before he became Nito Quabain, right? It's all one. When he said, and everything you do should be intentionally congruent to everything else you do. Now, for those of us who are on this call, like Lethea and some of the other people that's been around for a long time inside of NSA, this is what I want you to listen to and think about with Nito Quabain. Now follow this. And all you got to do is Google him or go to some old NSA recordings of him. Or if you've sat in any of the sessions that he's done, this is what he does masterfully. That's why it's all one. And this is what he began to teach me and show me by example. This is what he would do. He would be hired to speak, let's say at a payroll company. They're going to pay him to come and speak. And meeting planner hired him, paid him good money to come and speak at this payroll company.
Mhm.
Every example he used was from his other businesses in his speech. He would say something like, you know, as a board member of, I'm just going to make this up, TD Bank. It's not TD Bank, but he is a board member of a bank. We, you know, would focus on, and then he would go on to give the example. Now, this is his business. He's using example as he's getting paid to speak,
Mhm.
right? And, as the chairman of the board for Hyde Point University, when you talk about relationship building, we build relationships with our students and our parents. For example, when the parents show up to our campus, we have their name in bold letters, flashing lights for their parking spot. And they pull up and they're so amazed that my name and the child's name, the parents of, Ann McNeill park here, and the child is see their name, and the child comes in, and you walk on the campus and you see the ice cream truck, and you see now go back to his speeches. He goes on to say the meeting planner at the end of the program is upset, comes to him. We didn't pay you to come here and talk about, High Point University, da, da, da. But the client wants you back. So my point is speaking, and that's why for me, when I introduce myself, hi, my name is Ann McNeill, and I'm a business person who speaks. I'm not a speaker who has a business. Okay. So you as a financial planner, you're a business person who speaks. You're not a financial, you're not a speaker that has a business separate from your financial planning business, even though they're two separate businesses up underneath one umbrella. You want to begin to see them as one. So every time you speaking, I'm talking to somebody in the elevator, that's speaking. You don't have to be on a stage or have to be on a podcast. Don't have to be, you're speaking. What's your 30-second commercial to get that person to ask you how? Hey, what do you do? Well, I help my client. An appointment. I'm not going to go through all that with you in the elevator.
Right,
So
right.
again, that's why I love the book, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success, even though I love reading Jeffrey Gitomer's, all of his books. But that How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success, written on a 7th grade level, gives you step by step by step by step. And you talked about charting your time. He says, listen, take a day and track your time from the time you get up to the time you go to bed. And do it for a week, then do it for a month, and really see where you're utilizing your time. And if you really do that, coming back to your question about the two businesses, you may find, I just speak for myself, that a lot of the time in the day, you're not focusing on the business. You're doing a whole lot of other stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with your business. And we don't want to acknowledge that. We don't want to deal with that. Because when you really, and that's why I say do a personal inventory, a self-assessment, a time assessment. I read buy back your time. Yes, he does an assessment also on your time.
Right.
And so again, it's one, to answer your question. That's how, for me, that's how I do it.
I'm
And
tracking. I'm tracking.
yeah, yeah. And again, I wear a lot of hats, but I'm very, it's like, even with Black NSA, even inside of Black NSA, I made a commitment to Marquessa, and basically, I focus on one area. Now, if somebody asked me, like the young lady did a post today or yesterday, one day this week, about better investing, when we were in the breakout, something came up about that, and I made the comment, which I make often, but I don't focus on a lot of things inside of Black NSA, because I think it's very, I think it's very, I think it's very important that we don't mix apples and oranges. That's how the time commitments gets convoluted. This mastermind created from my mind is about mindset, not skill set.
Okay.
But when you think about mindset, what kind of time do you spend on your mindset to really delve into your time commitment versus, personal time, business time, and even in both of those, how do you plan on purpose to allocate a certain amount of time and then do what's called, I think Atomic Habits talked about habit stacking, right? And so when you look at, do you do all your podcasts on one day? You know, do you do all of your appointments on one day? I keep going back to how I raised myself from failure to success. He talked about how he scheduled himself where he take off Fridays. And he take off Fridays because when he did his time assessment, he realized his wife would call and say, honey, can you stop by the store and pick up whatever? Hey, honey, can you go get the cleaners? Hey, honey. And then he started looking, wait a minute now, out of an 8-hour day, I only worked an hour. My friends called me for lunch and I went, no, block your time. No, I'm sorry. Another good one. And again, 7 Habits, Highly Effective Families. He blocked out time for his family, his children at night. Little bitty children read best. So when he traveled, and this helped me, when he traveled, he had little children, 8 or 9 children. Bedtime, he would go in the men's room or go to his car or go to his room in the hotel, and he would block time to read bedtime story to his baby. And
Okay.
nothing come between. So again, I know it's a little lengthy, but I'm trying to make a point to all of us who's listening. Stop using all this other stuff as an excuse. I mean, can we be brutally honest with each other? Can we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just want to check and make sure that I'm talking to the right people here. Can y'all put okay in the chat for me so I know I'm stepping on some toes, starting with my own toes? And so for me, that's what I had to begin to do, because again, we say we love our family, but really, do we? How much time you spend? We say we love ourselves, but do you have a daily date with yourself? That's another book I wrote, because again, if I'm not making deposits into myself daily, people are making withdrawals all day, every day, you're going to go bankrupt. It's like a bank account. It's more important to invest, and you're in the business of money, a $20 bill once a month than trying to do $1,000 here and there. Once a month, not even once a day, not even once a week, once a month, over 20, 30 years, that's what allowed me to be on the ship, not the money for my speaking and my construction. And no, is learning
You're
how to go
developing those
back.
good habits. You're developing those consistent habits.
Exactly. And see, that's what you teach.
Right.
So
Right.
now, even though I'm sharing, I'm speaking as a speaker, right? But I'm a business person who speaks, not a speaker that has a business. Big difference.
Excellent. Excellent. So I
My
know we
God.
have another person who wants to ask a question. You can go ahead, Ellie.
Hey there, such a pleasure to hear you speak, and it's always I get nuggets, many nuggets whenever I hear you speak. I've got a two-part question. It's going to be really quick though. First, what would your advice be to a young adult that's about to start working? And then secondly, you mentioned having a date with yourself. Can that date be surrounding rest?
Can a date be what? Can a date
Surrounding, surrounding
surround?
or committed to rest?
The date can be whatever you decide you want it to be. I can just only speak for my date with myself. Starts, I'm an early riser, so you know, don't judge me. But this is my alarm clock. So I drank a bottle of water before I go to bed, and body calls, nature calls. Anybody older than 25 can relate to this, especially if you're older than 50. What does nature say? Yeah, hands up, hands up. Come on, Dr. Kendrick. Yeah, yeah. Nature says, I gotta go. But what I began to do is I go, but then I don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. Now it makes me go to bed earlier because I have learned that, and it's that wee hours between 3 and 6 a.m., 3 and 6 a.m., depending upon what time zone you're in, that 3 a.m. in the morning between me and God and me and Ann, because there's so many Ann McNeills, you know. But my reading, my meditating, my praying, my exercising, my vitamins, my water, all of those things, that's a daily date with myself. I journal, and I've talked about this as a part of what we do in my consulting. not only do I journal, but in my journal, which I think I have left, no, it's right here. I have what I call, I do the first part of my journal. This is the front. I actually do what I call the opportunities. And it's just one page. I don't know what date it is. But anyway, it's an opportunity. I ask the universe, God, to give me opportunities. And I just number it from 1 to whatever, usually 1 to 10. And then as ideas come, and this is daily, as ideas come, then I write the name of my company on the side and what the idea, what it relates to, which company it relates to. And I just like that. But training my brain, first of all, the brain dump everything out of it. It's my daily date with myself. So if you want your daily date with yourself to be rest, perfect, that works for you. For me, I find that when I wake up, and this was years, my mind would be like stallions running all over the place. Da, 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 da. And over the years, I'm learning to train it. I write my self-confidence formula first thing in the morning. And by doing that, for me, it's a prompt. The prompt says, while I'm writing it, ideas come up, things come up, and I just jot the thing down and I go back to writing. So whatever works for you, I write 1 or 2 things. What am I thankful for? What am I grateful for? And desire of my heart. Because I began to realize I would pray to God for things, stuff, people, employees. Very specific about what I'm looking for. And then he would bless payroll. Thank you, Jesus. And he would bless me. And I would go on and ask for something else. And then something, what is da. And then I realized years later, I said, oh my gosh, I never went back and said, thank you. Oh my gosh. And so not only do I say the desire of my heart, then I wrote desires of my heart fulfilled, acknowledging to him, I thank you for that. And so for me, I can't do that in 15 minutes. I used to be able to, 10 minutes, 15, jump done and done. And then the more I communed with God and myself in the spirit, the more I desire to do that. My reading, I talk about the books I'm reading. So again, whatever works for you. Now go back to the first question you asked was, what would I recommend for a young person? Was that your question? Was that about a career or a job? Oh, did I lose her? Oh,
She
okay.
just came off of mute.
Oh, okay.
She
What was the
wanted you to
first?
rephrase your first
Or-
question.
Yes.
So my first question was, what advice would you give to a young adult that's starting a career?
Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. And what I mean by that is if you're starting a career, and I listen, I keep going back to this. That young person must have a dream to have a dream come true. And so often we don't start and let people steal our dream. So let's say that young person, I'll use Jason Murray, wants to become a financial planner. But a young person starting with a career, starting with this book, my children and my grandchildren, second grade started reading this. Third grade, I actually found a picture this week of my 3-year-old granddaughter with a leather-bound copy of Think and Grow Rich sitting in my husband and I bed, opened it up and picked through the words she knew. 3 years old. I just found the video this week. Point being, now she's 9 years old right now. Every Sunday, she hosts the actual youth call, reading Think and Grow Rich. They do 1 page every Sunday, and she hosts that. Now, that young person, young adult, I would say start with this. Why? Because once they understand how much money they want first, then the career. Why is that important? Because our young people oftentimes go into a career, I'm not going to name them, only to find out they can't make any money. How much money and time you spent getting a degree and going into that job, 5 or 10 years to realize that's not the route I want to take. When if you had started first with the money and then looked at the careers on paper, do the research, and then decide to go that route, and still find out that's not the route, but at least you're focusing on the money and what I just shared about a $20 bill invested as a young person. My youngest daughter, we put her on a retirement plan at 11. We max her retirement every year starting at 11. And Jason, you know where I'm going with this. So no wonder she could retire at 30. So going back to your question, I would really invest some time with your young person, depending on young adult or whatever, and maybe even consider starting here we go again, and I mean this sincerely, a free family and friends mastermind group. Why? Because if you're able to communicate with that young person on a regular basis, where it's not just mama or daddy saying, I think you should do this. No, but if it's in a protected environment where we're all reading the same things and we're able to dialogue, and that's what I find oftentimes in our family masterminds, it makes a big difference. And I get that from Stephen Covey about having a family meeting every week and a family mission statement. So hopefully that answers your question, dear.
Thank you.
No, my pleasure. All right.
Floor is open for more questions. Anyone else have
Oh,
a
they have all
question?
the answers. They're done. They're done. They're done. Any other questions? If not, yep, everybody's done. Okay, Dr. Kendrick, I'm not sure if you're writing a lot, but your head is down a lot.
I am writing a lot, I pay attention. So, what I do want to say is, a lot of times I'm not asking questions. I went through your mastermind course, so we've had the opportunity to hear you a lot and read. So my lack of my lack of questions does not mean that I'm not interested. It's just mean that, I am. I've had I sat at the table of Van McNeill before. So
Can you give us one
that's
major takeaway? Can you give us one major takeaway? Because I appreciate the fact that you are writing notes, and like I see your head going up and down. Can you give us one takeaway, and then Jason and
okay.
Mark?
There's a couple of takeaways that I did take and I commented on it. The first thing is the tracking my time. That is something that I kind of learned back in masterminds. You made a statement back then, but you reiterated it regarding remaining focused. Uh, and I often wonder, I usually talk to people, and when they ask me what I do, I say I'm an expert that speaks. And then someone was kind of hitting me on that. And then when you said that you're a business person that speaks or a consultant that speaks, that kind of confirmed that I was on the right track in reference to how I was presenting, because I have so much more than just being an entertainer or a movie producer or a speaker. So I'm an expert at what I do. So why not say I'm an expert that speaks? So that was a very good takeaway. Habit stacking. See, I'm paying it to habit stacking was a very big thing for me because when you start talking about completing something, like decide that today I'm going to work on this documentary, and and then carve out time for your family, and that's where I am at this point because I have so many um, projects that I'm working on. I have to find time to schedule in time for my family. We've been together for a long time, so I'm not going to lose that. And so that's some of the takeaways that I have. And for one last thing, my granddaughter is 12, and we have already started her retirement plan as well. So I thought that was a very good thing because even though she may not want to retire at 30, that is a good start that our parents really didn't do that. And they didn't, not that they didn't want to, but they were in such a um, systemic oppression state sometime that they couldn't afford to do that for us. So at that point, when we learned, we had to push it on down to our daughters and our grandkids. So yes, so those are some of the takeaways. So
Can I make a suggestion regarding your family?
mhm.
Consider, I think it's called uh the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. There is I forget the name of the website where that sell used books. Amazon bought them. Can't think of the name of it. Anyway, depending upon how many people in your family, you may want, and it's for all of us, consider getting a copy of, which I think Stephen Covey's best work. He has a lot of them, but to me and for me, it was the best work for me at the time and still to this day, because having a date with the spouse or loved one, partner, whatever, but also having a date with each child. And if you have more than one child, they don't care about that other sibling. They want my mom. This is my mom. This is, I'll give you, he had 8 or 9 children, and each one, felt that this is my dad. I know I got, but this is my dad. This is my mom. And what helped me a lot was the fact that he would have a separate date with each child once a month because he has so many. But that child knew that this is carved out time for me and my dad. We're going to do and go wherever I want to go and whatever I want to do. And I started doing that not only with my children, one and one, but also with my grandchildren. And especially my grandson, my granddaughter, 9 years, but my grandson from second grade, once a month we had a grandma date. And when he turned 16, he then told me that he was going to drive me around instead of me driving him around to where he wanted to go. But my point though, now as an adult male, once a year, he takes me on a grandma date.
Mhm.
And it's usually a trip. A point I'm making is this. So when you look at the best way to find time is to make time, Kendrick. And one of the best ways to do that is if all of you are reading the book together. Each person has their own book, how to, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families, and you're able collectively to write that mission statement for the family mission statement, which could take months, especially if you have adult children and grandchildren. But again, the point is, it's an effort where everybody now gets to speak into the family. Because ordinarily, I don't know about anybody else, but nobody taught me how to be a mom, a wife, a grandmom, aunt, all of these things. And by reading a lot of this information, I'm able to pick and choose what works best for me. And what I loved about what he did in his book, he has like 500 and something like that references in the back of the book, but he gives so many stories of families and what they did, some that worked and some that did not work. But it's a really good place for the family to be able to understand their own dynamics and how to
Right.
interact with each other. So just some thoughts.
So having I have 3 daughters and a granddaughter, no dudes and nowhere in sight. So
You're a
the
blessed man. All I can say,
I
you're
got
blessed.
this girl thing down. So listen, my youngest is 32, my youngest, and so we do that lunch thing, we do all that. And of course, being together with my wife for 39 years, we figured that part out. The crazy part of it is the grandchild and the other 2 daughters who live in Virginia. So that's where this is probably going to work for me better with those young ladies that are in Virginia who have busy lives, of course. So, but yeah, the ones that are here, yeah, we figured that part out. Because sometimes my youngest have to just snatch me and just say we go on, snatch me off the computer. So yes, thank you. I will take those notes and look into that. Thank
And
you.
congratulations. All right, thank you. All
So it
right.
looks like DJ Colvin has a
Yes,
question.
sir. Hello. Please excuse my environment and my presentation. I'm a 3-day old member, and I just got the alarm by text that we were having this call. But I just wanted to add about the principle. Dr. McNeill, her teaching was very principle based. She talked about the Bible. Um, it took 7 days for the Lord to frame the world, and in those 7 days, He did everything He needed. So what she said about Think and Grow Rich, she stood flat-footedly and spoke to us for an hour on a single principle that involves our mindset. I'm very excited to be a part of the team. I joined Georgia NSA on a happenstance and found out I knew Kinston Henderson and he told me about the NSA. So I'm here. I'm grateful to be a part of this session right here. Thank you, Dr. McNeill.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I
Welcome,
told you
welcome,
all.
DJ. I just had to say that because I'm so excited to have him as part of the community. If there's anyone else here who's new, if you would just please put in the chat and say, I'm new. I just want to welcome you to the family. You have cousins from all over the world now. We often say that we are speakers by profession, but family by choice.
Great, great. Well, I certainly appreciate everyone's attendance here today. And you did a stand-up job as always. As I started out the program by making mention, you certainly encouraged me to take more of an active role within the organization, and I truly am growing as a result of that. So I definitely appreciate that. And um, at this time, I'd like to maybe give Lethea an opportunity to share a few words or some insights as president of the organization before we give any other persons opportunity to share some takeaways that they may have. Lethea?
Jason, thank you so much for your leadership. And your ear should be burning because some of the other leaders and I were talking behind the scenes about just how well you're doing and how excited we are that we have our mentors lined up for the next few months. And so if you're on this call and you loved it, Ann McNeill brought the fire. And if you would agree, put fire in the chat. Just put the word fire in the chat. And Jason is bringing us some amazing mentors. So I just want to encourage you to please check out all that Black NSA has to offer you. We have a writer's workshop the first Saturday of the month. So coming up this Saturday, if you're working on a proposal, website copy, a book, or anything that requires writing, we have a 4 hour, I believe it's 4 hour writer's workshop that you can attend to have some accountability for your writing. We have our education session coming up next week. We have Membership Matters, which is an opportunity for you to network, let your hair down, and just really connect as family members, in addition to being, connecting as professionals. But we have lots of ways for you to leverage your membership value. So I want to encourage you to get plugged in. If you have been here for any length of time, you have heard me say, I believe that you should contribute to the table that you dine from. So you may not know how to make the roast or the cornbread, but you can bring some lemonade, right? So bring whatever you can bring to the table and get plugged in and find a way to serve. I love that Dr. Kenrick did not have my personal email, but he found me and tracked me down on social media and Messenger and sent me a notice to say, hey, I'm interested in serving Black NSA. And that is the kind of dedication that we are looking for. People who want to contribute their gifts, their talents, and their time to help make us better. I don't know if you have heard this and you realize this, but I have worked with the board, and the board and I are really diligent about our vision and our big, hairy, audacious dream of 10xing. That's another book that would be great. 10x is easier than 2x, but we're focusing on 10xing our membership within the next couple of years, and it's going to take you. Like, we can't do that without you. We just built an amazing marketing team. Jennifer has volunteered to be part of our marketing team. I don't know if Christopher is on the call today, but we basically have been interviewing for our marketing team, and we have a rock solid team, and we're building out our AI employees or AI staff for Black NSA. We're putting in the automations, the technology, the vision, and all the things necessary to help us grow. So we have great leadership. Our elections are going to be coming up real soon. You'll be hearing about that. So just keep your ears and eyes open. Stay plugged in. If you want to serve and lead, we have a spot for you. And I just want to encourage you to continue to also just be great when you go out in the world and do what it is that you do. It's my honor and pleasure to serve you as your president. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you, Lethea, and it's an honor and pleasure to be working with you on the board. And I'll close out by saying, Ann, you actually put me to work. You don't realize it, but you put me to work because I am about to become a grandfather again in August, and so I'll be a baker's dozen, a full baker's dozen. Number 12 is on the way. So you put me to work by saying like I really need to spend some time with each of my grandchildren a little bit more and how important that is and just just some personal time and growing time. So
Hmm.
thank you for that. And
Jason, can I just share something along that lines? And no, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. And I'm gonna go to bed because it's like 1:17 a.m. here. I did a post today, this week on Anne's Wonderful Words of Wisdom and on the principle of organized planning. And one of the things I said, and you just reminded me of that about spending time. One of the things I said toward the end, I asked the question, as you age, all of us, will your child or children decide to take you home with them, or will they take you to a home?
Mm.
Now, in case some people didn't get that, I'm gonna say it again.
Got it.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
come on now, somebody. All right, okay, because tell the truth and shame the devil here. So, we get these priorities right, folks, because I know for myself, and I don't have a problem in testifying and not testifying. I had one child, and by the time she reached 10, 11, 12, I said to myself, this one will take me to a home. She will say, listen, my dad can come live with me, but that mama, we gonna put her in an old folks home. And I said at that point in my life, and that was it. No, I'm gonna be more intentional about having another child. And my children are 12 years apart. And I got a 50-50 chance that one I'm gonna say, look, I'll take I'll take my father home, and others will say, listen, I'll take mama, you take daddy, okay? And I'm laughing, but y'all know this is true. And we don't have this conversation, and people are putting these family members in facilities, and they're
Hmm.
not taking them home anymore. And so really, we talk about an organized planning. We'll talk about that next week. I'm getting confused with the days, but and that's why I live in these principles. We can talk about other books, but for this mastermind, the principles are what drives us. And so I just want to encourage you, in all fairness, there's nothing more important than your children and grandchildren. And the more you have, the greater opportunity you have that somebody's going to say, my grandpa, my pop, no, he's coming home with me. And they're going to fight over you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So just be blessed. And I just want to encourage everybody to just, remember the three things: the books you read, the people you meet, and be willing to serve. Serve like an essay if you don't do anything else, and grow. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Mhm.
Thank you. And on behalf of Black NSA and the board, we appreciate you for coming in here the first Thursday of the month. And the next Thursday of the month in May, we're going to have Susan Linder. Susan Linder is going to be our next mentor of the month. So please join us on the first um, Thursday in May. Thank you, everyone. It's been a
Hey,
pleasure.
Jason, before you get off, can I say something?
Certainly.
Anne brought up something regarding dreams earlier, and you wrote something in the text. Just so you know, I've produced a couple of documentaries, and I'm in the middle of three of them right now.
Okay.
So we can talk. I saw that that documentary was one of your dreams, so let's have a
Yep.
conversation at some time. Hmm.
Okay. Absolutely. I appreciate you for pointing that
Hmm.
out. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Hmm.
And Dr. Kenrick, I sent you my Zoom link for our meeting. So instead of
Yes.
phone, if you could join me via Zoom, that would be wonderful.
Sounds real good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Mhm.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so much, Ann.
All right,
Thank you.
guys. Good night.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Everybody.
Bye.